Sometimes you're going to want your database to do several things on startup. Right now, we have our database options set to automatically open the splash screen form, which, after a short timer delay, triggers the main menu. We can get similar functionality, but with more flexibility, by using a special macro in the database to control the startup behaviors. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Kinetico AutoExec file by holding down the Shift key to bypass the startup options. I'll hold down Shift on the keyboard and double-click the file to open it. Once the database is open, I can let go of the Shift key and click over to switch to it. Now I'm going to create a macro that'll automatically start up when the database loads. So let's go to the Create tab, and we'll choose Macro here. This macro is going to include several steps. The first one is to open up the splash screen. So for the first action, I'm going to choose Open Form from the list of actions, and the form that we're going to open is Splash Screen. I'll leave the view set to form and the window mode to normal. Let's go ahead and add another action. I'll click down there and choose Message Box. In the message box, the message is going to be, if you notice anything wonky in the database, please contact Adam and my email address. I'll go ahead and change the beep from yes to no, so we don't get a warning ding every time we open up this file. The type, I'm going to change from none to information so that it has a nice icon on the screen. And for the title, I'm going to choose Welcome to the Kinetico Database. Now we need to go ahead and save our actions. So I'll go up to the Save icon up here on the Quick Access toolbar. I'll press that, and I'll change the name to AutoExec. AutoExec, which is short for AutoExecute. We'll go ahead and say OK, and now I need to close my macro. Now, one of the things that we had done earlier is to turn off the tabs. And you notice we don't have any tabs across the screen here. This is actually one of the options that doesn't get bypassed when you hold down the Shift key when you're opening up your database. So how do we actually close this macro to get out of it? Maybe I can try right-clicking to pop up that menu here. But again, there's no close option here. What I need to do is actually use the keyboard shortcut Control-W to close out of this macro. So I'll press Control-W on my keyboard, and that'll close out the macro. Now we can see over here in the navigation pane that I have a new macro called AutoExec. This will automatically run when the database starts. The last thing I need to do is turn off my splash screen from automatically loading. If I go up to the File menu, down to Options, and to Current Database here, I can change this display form from splash screen to none. And we'll let the AutoExecute macro take care of launching the splash screen instead. Go ahead and say OK, and we'll close the database and test it out. I'll come back over here, I'll double-click on it. This time I don't need to hold down the Shift key. That'll start up my database. I get the splash screen in the background, and that little dialog box on top that says, Welcome to the Kinetico Database. And it gives the email address where anybody can contact me if they have issues with the database. I'll go ahead and say OK, and I'll notice that my splash screen has already disappeared and the main menu is loaded. Now, instead of simply having a startup form, we can add as many behaviors as we might want on startup. You could open up several forms or automatically launch a daily summary report. By naming the macro AutoExec, Access will automatically run it every time the database is started. But remember, if you ever need to start the database without the macro running, simply hold down that Shift key when launching the file.